to all the spooks out there. Welcome back for another episode of Spine Chilling Chats, where every Wednesday we dig up the darkest corners of true crime, history, folklore, and the supernatural. I'm Ange.
And I'm Manda. So today we are going to cover a weird kind of shitty person. I don't know, he just looks weird to me. You just wait till you see his picture. His name is Ottis Elwood Toole, and he's a fucking tool.
Oh, man.
He was born March 5th, so we're staying with the March birthdays, 1947. He was convicted of 6 counts of murder. He received 2 life sentences, but he appealed them, and they were changed to life in prison. He was born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida. His father was an alcoholic who abandoned them, and his mother was abusive, who dressed him in girls' clothes.
Okay. Well, she wanted a girl.
Well, it gets better. And called him Susan.
Oh.
Yeah. And of course, he was sexually abused as a child by relatives and close friends and acquaintances, including his older sister and the next door neighbor. His mother's mother, so his grandmother, his maternal grandmother, was a Satanist.
Oh, like legitimately, or did they just...
No, she practiced satanic rituals and practices.
Okay. So a lot of times they claim, like the satanic panic, but
nope,
it's not
she
really.
Was a Satanist. She exposed him to various satanic practices and rituals, including grave robbing. Yeah. And then he started getting abused again when he came out as a homosexual.
That's so sad. Again and again, it's just, you feel bad for the child.
You feel bad for the child.
They had such a rough beginning, and it's just no wonder they turned out fucked up.
Yeah. And it sucks because I do feel bad for the child, but do I feel bad for the adult?
No,
absolutely not.
No.
Because you could have taken the better road of the two. You chose not to. You chose to go down the other path that it took you to murder and sexual abuse and all that stuff, when you could have gotten therapy and gotten help. Maybe back then, though, therapy wasn't much of an option, but there are people who have been through that and turned out great people. So he was also known to have mild intellectual disability. So he was a little slow. His IQ was only 75.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. He had epilepsy, which is seizures. He often ran away from home and slept in abandoned houses. He was an arsonist and was sexually aroused by fire. So that's one of those.
I mean, fire is hot.
Ha ha. I see what you did there. Isn't that one of those triad? So he was sexually aroused by fire. And in a documentary called The Death Diploma, he said that he was forced to have sex with a friend of his father's when he was 5 years old.
Oh, it's your job as a parent to protect your child.
Absolutely.
Not put them in harm's way.
Yeah. At 10 years old, he knew he was gay, and he had a sexual relationship with a neighborhood boy when he was 12. He dropped out of school in 9th grade and began going to gay bars. He said that he was a prostitute as a teenager and that he became obsessed with gay pornography. He said that he committed his first murder at the age of 14 after being propositioned for sex by a traveling salesman. He then ran that salesman over with his own car.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, like fucking ballsy. Whatever. He was arrested at the age of 17 in August of 1965 for loitering, and that was his first arrest. There's not much information between 1966 and 1973, but the police believe that he had began being a drifter, drifting around the southwest United States. He made money by prostitution and panhandling. While he was living in Nebraska, he was a prime suspect of a 1974 murder of a 24-year-old Patricia Webb. After he left Nebraska, he settled in Boulder, Colorado, and a month later became the prime suspect for a homicide of 31-year-old Ellen Holman.
Now, that's unusual there for a homosexual serial killer to go after women. Usually they go after the men.
Thing. Yeah, I thought the same
thing. At least
thing.
In the cases I've seen. I don't have statistics or anything like that. But
just from what we hear and what we read and what we watch, they usually go after who they're attracted to.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was murdered on October 14th, 1974. He left Boulder and returned to Jacksonville in early 1975 after drifting and hitchhiking through the American South. And on January 14th, 1976, he married a woman 25 years his senior.
Yeah.
But she left him after 3 days because she discovered his homosexuality.
Yeah, I guess that'd be a deal breaker there. You know?
It said,
you kind of want your partner to be attracted to you.
Yeah, it said the marriage was a tactic meant to conceal his true sexuality. As that's what he said in an interview. Which, yeah, I mean, that's why people who are gay marry the opposite sex, because they want to conceal who they really are, because they get bullied, you know?
Yeah, it's very dangerous, or a lot more dangerous back then even. But
yeah, this was in the 70s.
At least, you know, marry someone who you trust and you let them know ahead of time that you're homosexual and this is just for your protection. Like, make it where it's beneficial to both parties.
Right. He just married some 25-year-older lady and expected her to just know what he's looking for.
Yeah.
He's looking for safety, I think. You know what I mean? In my opinion.
Yeah.
My opinion, I didn't read this. He's looking for safety, and safety is marrying a woman because you're gay in the 70s.
Yeah.
So that didn't work out so well. So now we're on to the murders and imprisonment. In 1976, he met Henry Lee Lucas at a Jacksonville soup kitchen. And let me tell you, these two are a pair. Like, when you see their pictures, you're going to be like, okay, good for them for finding each other. Because I would, this is a time when I was single, I would be like, they can find love and I can't. Wait till you see them. Okay. They developed a sexual relationship. He claimed to have accompanied Lucas and committed 108 murders. That's what he said, that he committed 108 murders. He and that Lucas guy.
Man.
Sometimes they committed them on behalf of the cult called the Hands of Death. But the police discounted the claims about the cult. I feel like I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like it's coming out of cults, because that's what it says right there.
Mm-hmm.
Existence. On January 4th, 1982, he barricaded a 65-year-old George Sonnenberg in a boarding house where he was living in Jacksonville, and he set the house on fire. Sonnenberg died a week later from the injuries that he had gotten in the fire, and in April of 1983, he was arrested for arson. Unrelated to the incident in Jacksonville, he confessed to the crime and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. He signed a confession stating that he and Sonnenberg had begun a sexual relationship. And after the two had had an argument, Toole set Sonnenberg's home on fire. 2 months later in June, Lucas was arrested for unlawful possession of a firearm, and that's when Lucas started bragging about having a murderous rampage that he and Toole orchestrated. Toole denied it at first, but then later on began backing up Lucas's confessions, and Lucas backed up Toole on the murder of Adam Walsh. Do you know who that is?
No.
You know who John Walsh is, America's Most Wanted?
Oh, yeah. His son?
His son.
That's why he started posting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading that and I was like, holy shit, he murdered John Walsh's son? Not that that's cool. I know I'm coming off as surprised or whatever, but like I had no idea who murdered his son.
No,
I knew that he was
his
murdered.
His son was murdered, and
I
that's
knew that
why
they found him beheaded.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I knew that they found his head in a drainage, but I never knew that they knew who did it. I didn't know that they had an idea of who did it. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Small world.
Yeah. That's John Walsh's son. It was said that Lucas would have had to use his 13-year-old Ford station wagon to cover 11,000 miles in 1 month, and that's around 370 miles per day, to have committed the crimes, the 108 murders. Like, that's what they're saying.
So they're saying it's impossible for them to have done it.
Yeah. Lucas became regarded as a compliant interviewee who was used by the police to clear up unsolved murders that he had not been involved in, giving false statements in collaboration during Toole's trial for murdering George Steinberg. He claimed that he did not light the home on fire and only signed the confession so he could be extradited back to Jacksonville. So he said that he signed the confession saying he did it so that way he could go back to Jacksonville.
Even though he's saying he didn't really.
He's saying he didn't, but he really did. And now he's saying that he didn't, but he signed it anyway. Like, why would you sign a false confession? Because the dude ended up dying. Yeah, but the dude ended up dying, so now you're on the hook for murder. Yeah. Like, I'd be like, okay, if I caught the house on fire, you can extradite me back to Jacksonville. Sure, I'll say I did it. But if somebody died, I'm not
signing up. I didn't do it.
The jury found him guilty on first-degree murder and sentenced him to death on April 28, 1984. Later in the year, he was also found guilty of the February 1983 strangulation murder of 19-year-old Tallahassee, Florida woman. He received a second death sentence that he appealed, both of those, and however, both sentences were later commuted to life in prison. After he was arrested, he pleaded guilty to 4 more Jacksonville murders in 1991 and received 4 more life sentences. Those murders were John McDaniel, Jerry Lynn Peoples, Brenda Burton, Ruby McCary, George Sonnenberg, and Ada Johnson. They were all killed in Florida from between 1980 and 1983. On October 21st, 1983, while he was in prison for 2 unrelated murders, he confessed to the 1981 murder of 6-year-old Adam Walsh. A few weeks after he made the confession, police officers who were investigating the case said that they had lost Toole's impounded car and machete.
I didn't realize he was 6 when he was murdered.
Oh, yeah.
I assumed he was
teenager
or 20s.
Nope, he was 6. Isn't that even
that's
worse?
Horrible.
Yep. And then they lost his fucking car and the machete that he killed him with. Which, it gets more into the story. It's fucking terrible. It's terrible. He's a fucking piece of shit. Adam's father, John Walsh, continues to believe that Toole is guilty on December 16th, 2008, 27 years after the 1981 murder in Hollywood, Florida, the police announced Toole was the murderer and the Adam Walsh case was closed. They did not reveal any new physical evidence, and they still had no DNA evidence. Toole said that he picked up Walsh in a Sears Mall parking lot. He said Walsh came willingly because he offered Walsh candy and toys. Then Walsh, or Adam, wanted to go home and began to cry. That's when he punched him in the face. He started to cry again, and according to Toole, he began to wallop on Walsh, knocking him out.
Oh. Poor baby.
Eventually pulled over and decapitated Walsh with a machete. He drove around with the head for several days and forgot about it.
How do you forget about a fucking head?
Because he's a piece of shit.
Wouldn't you smell it?
Yeah. It says that he rediscovered it and tossed it into a nearby canal. Like, how do you forget? What did he do with the body? It didn't say what he did with the body. So what did you do with the body that you forgot? Like, I'm getting rid of this body and there's no head. Oh shit, I gotta grab the head because I don't have the head. How do you just throw a headless body somewhere and then forget you have the head? I don't get it.
Any fucking sense.
The police explicitly lost tools, the impounded car, and the blood-stained carpeting, hindering their ability to proceed with the investigation into his murder. So I'm glad that they did pin it on him. But at the same time, they fucking lost all the evidence. Yeah. So really, he could get off of it. Yeah, because they don't have any evidence.
How did they, just from his...
Because he confessed.
Confession?
In 1984...
I don't know the story. So how did he pick him up in the parking lot? Where
was his dad?
Yeah, where was his...
Because he has a dad and an older brother, I think. I know he's got a brother. I don't know if he's older or younger.
Like, why was he just in the parking lot by himself?
I don't know, but when I first heard John Walsh talking about his son being kidnapped and murdered, I assumed they were inside the Sears Mall. This says he was in the parking lot. So I'm not sure what the real story is. If it was inside the mall or... I knew it was a Sears. I knew that there was a Sears involved. I just don't know if they were inside or in the parking lot because now there's 2 different...
Hi guys, I just wanted to give a little update on what happened to Adam Walsh. I was doing the editing for this episode and decided to look it up and see really what happened, why he was out in the parking lot. So here's what happened. On the afternoon of July 27th, 1981, Adam accompanied his mother on a shopping trip to the Hollywood Mall, which is in Hollywood, Florida. They went to Sears, entering through the north entrance. His mother intended to inquire about a lamp that was on sale and left Adam at a kiosk that had an Atari hooked up, and there were other boys there playing too. So with her knowing that her son was there playing the video game, she went back to the lighting department to talk about the lamp with the associates. After she finished figuring out the lamp situation, she returned to the kiosk around 12:15, only to find that Adam and the other boys weren't there anymore. A store manager informed her that a scuffle had broken out over whose turn it was at the kiosk, and a security guard demanded that the boys leave the store. The security guard asked the older boys if their parents were in the store, and they all said that no, they weren't. Adam's parents later conjectured that their son had been too shy to speak to a security guard, who presumed he was with the boys, like he was part of their little group, and made him leave by the same door in which the boys had entered, and that was the west entrance. Now, remember, Adam's only 6 years old. My daughter wouldn't speak to an adult, by herself that she's never met before. So she probably would have just followed along too. His parents believed that after the boys dispersed, he was left alone outside the store at an exit he was unfamiliar with. Meanwhile, unable to find Adam in the toy department where she had left him, his mother paged over the intercom system and continued to look for him throughout the store. Just by chance, her mother-in-law was at Sears shopping as well, and so she helped look for him. And after 90 minutes of looking and paging and not being able to find Adam, they called the police, and that was at 1:55 p.m. On August 10th, a severed head was found in a drainage canal alongside the Florida Turnpike near Vero Beach, almost 130 miles from Hollywood. On the morning of August 11th, Adam's parents appeared on national television saying that they still hoped that Adam was alive. They offered a $100,000 reward, which is equivalent to about $345,000 today, in the hopes that Adam would be returned safe. Soon after, the recovered remains were identified as Adam's. The coroner ruled that the cause of Adam's death was asphyxiation. The state of the remains suggested that Adam had died several days before the discovery of the head. The rest of his body was never recovered. The head itself would be kept in a morgue until the case's closure in 2008. And Adam just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I just feel so, so bad for his parents. Having a daughter about the same age, it really hits home, and I feel so bad for them. I don't even want to try to imagine. So that's what happened to Adam. That's why he was in the parking lot by himself, and why he ultimately lost his life. So back to the rest of the episode. Bye, guys.
But I'm gonna have to go back. But yeah,
and I don't want to parent blame, because I don't know the situation at all.
Right. Me either.
I'm just curious.
I don't know why he was out there by himself if that was the case.
I mean, because kids are fast, but man.
And he was 6.
When I take Aurora anywhere, I have a hand on her or she's in the car.
Yes. I used to make Ezra hold the cart.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to hold my hand. I said, hold the cart. Or I say, next to me. And he's like, oh.
Yeah. Even when we're walking in the parking lot to the store, I have my hand so she can't just dart in front of a car or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Then again, this was back in the 80s.
Yeah. So
which
it was a lot more laxed back then. And
I would say that crime now is higher than it was back then, but it was still pretty bad back then.
Well, it's just it wasn't the news wasn't as available as it is here.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, a kid is missing in California, and we get a notification on Facebook
2 hours later.
Here in Michigan. Like it's so out there now. Like you hear about everything, so it just feels like there's so much more crime.
Yeah.
Going on. Which
Yeah.
I think
because we hear about it more.
I think it's probably the same, but it's more,
available.
Yeah, more available to us.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not parent blaming, but I don't know why he was alone.
Yeah, I don't know the situation.
So in 1984, he confessed to the 2 unsolved Northwest Florida slayings, including one on the I-10. Like, I guess I heard of the I-10 murders. Have you heard of those?
Mm-mm.
There's a whole thing about the I-10 murders. He was one of the I-10 murderers. And he said that during an interview. He admitted to killing 18-year-old David, a hitchhiker who he picked up east of Pensacola. David's body was later found bearing 5 gunshot wounds to the left side of his head. And when he was found, it was February 6, 1980. Approximately 125 feet off the road of I-10 in the eastbound lane, 5 miles east of Chipley. The other confession involved the death of a 20-year-old Ada Johnson. He confessed that he shot her in the head on a roadside of Fort Walton Beach after kidnapping her at gunpoint at a Tallahassee nightclub. Psychiatrists Dr. Urbina and Dr. Sanchez testified that Toole's 1984 Florida Supreme Court appeal that he was extremely impulsive and exhibited antisocial behavior, which is a personality disorder, and that he was a pyromaniac. The court found sufficient evidence that Toole could be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. In Hollywood, Florida, Police Chief Chadwick Wagner said that Toole had been the prime suspect the whole time. He went on to say that even though Toole's case was weak, he could have been charged during the original investigation of it. Wagner acknowledged that the fact that many mistakes were made by the department and apologized to the Walsh family on its behalf. He also acknowledged that the fact of the lack of new evidence and the inability of Toole to defend himself could provide room for skeptics to doubt Toole's guilt, saying, "If you're looking for that magic wand, that one piece of evidence, it's not there." The police re-examined previous uncorrelated evidence, and then they and the Walsh family were both satisfied with the new report that is existing evidence, which only points to Ottis Toole. In 1981, his mother had died, and he reportedly said that he had murdered 9 more people in 6 states between January of 1982 and February of 1983, along with 108 other murders that he committed with Lucas. He also was a practicing cannibal. Yeah, he provided that's all it said about that. He provided gruesome details on the crimes, but in the end, it remains unclear how many killings he and Lucas really committed. He died on September 15th, 1996, at the age of 49 from cirrhosis of the liver in his cell at the Florida State Prison.
Was he a heavy drinker?
He must have been. It didn't say anything about him drinking, but his dad was, it said that his dad was an alcoholic, so it's a possibility that he became an alcoholic. Mm. And if you're killing that many people, it's got to get in your head somehow. You got to be able to deal with it some way. But yeah. So that's it for Ottis Toole. Piece of shit, killed Adam Walsh and 108 other people, 107 other people. So he claims.
Man, that's so sad.
It is sad. I think that was the only child that they said that he killed. Everybody else was teens or older.
As a parent, like how do you live after that?
I don't know. He had another kid to live for.
That'd be tough.
It would be tough. It is. I'm sure. But my next person, because I'm doing 2, because they were both short. Go figure. I always pick the short ones. But the next one is Jane Toppan, born Honora Kelly, but also was said to have been named Nora in a different article. So Honora or Nora. I'm just going to call her Jane.
Okay.
She was born on March 31st, 1854.
She's an older one.
She's an older one, yeah. She was nicknamed Jolly Jane.
Okay, I think I've heard of her.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
I have never. Uh-huh. Okay. She's believed to have murdered over 100 people in Massachusetts between 1895 and 1901. Like, that's a short span to kill over 100 people. She confessed to 31 of the murders that she carried out in the capacity of her being a nurse, targeting patients and their family members. She admitted that she committed the murder to satisfy a sexual fetish. She was quoted as saying that her ambition was to have killed more people, helpless people, than any other man or woman who ever lived. So she was born Honora Kelly, or Nora, on March 31st, 1854, in Boston, Massachusetts. She was the daughter of Irish immigrants. Her mother, Bridget Kelly, died of tuberculosis when she was very young, and her father, Peter Kelly, was known as an eccentric and abusive alcoholic, nicknamed by those who knew him as Kelly the Crack, as in crackpot. What do you hear next? Because, like, that makes sense. Kelly was said to have sewn his own eyelids closed while working as a tailor. Like, what the hell? Fuck? Yeah. I guess that explains the name. Yeah. How do you sew your own eyelids shut?
Ow!
On accident or on purpose. But on accident is not a thing. And on purpose shouldn't be a thing. How do you, like, pain? I don't know. But that's why they call him Kelly the Crack. In 1860, only a few years after his wife's death, Kelly surrendered his two youngest children, 8-year-old Delia Josephine and 6-year-old Honora, or Nora, which I'm going to call Jane from now on, to the Boston Female Asylum and Orphanage for Indigent Female Children. He never saw them again. The asylum had taken notes and documented that Delia and
Jane?
Yeah, but I put Anna. It says Anna. In the article, it says Anna. So Anna must be their other sister. Yeah. So that Delia and Anna were rescued from a very miserable home. No records exist of their experiences during their time in the asylum. But Delia became a prostitute while her older sister Nellie, who was not at the orphanage, was committed to an insane asylum. In November 1862, so less than 2 years after being abandoned by her father, Jane was placed as an indentured servant, which is a servant who works for free and gets paid once they get released, but not very much. In the home of Mrs. Anne C. Toppan of Lowell, Massachusetts. Even though she never formally adopted Jane, she took the surname of the Toppan family to distance herself from the former family then and became known as Jane Toppan. The Toppan family already had a daughter named Elizabeth, and Elizabeth and Jane were on good terms. And unlike Jane, her sister Delia was not so lucky, and she was sent to the streets for prostitution when she was of age. Jane was freed of her duties when she was 18 and given $50. She chose,
Wow.
Yeah. But back then, $50 it was in the 1800s.
Still, $50 isn't years and years worth of.
Yeah, but it's back in the 1800s, so they were by this time probably the 1900s, early 1900s. But yeah, it's not a lot. She still chose to work for the family as a servant until Anne passed and Anne's daughter married and left home. In 1885, Jane began training to be a nurse at the Cambridge Hospital. Unlike her earlier years where she was described as brilliant and terrible at the hospital. Brilliant and terrible. At the hospital, she was well liked and she was called bright and friendly, earning the nickname Jolly Jane. She became close with the patients that she picked. Her favorite ones were normally elderly and very sick during her residency, falsifying their records to keep them there longer so she could get to know them. She has a strong feelings towards the elderly patients, feeling that they were useless and not worth keeping alive. She killed at least 12 people while working as a student nurse. Jane used her patients as guinea pigs to experiment with morphine and atropine. It was also said that she used opium as well. She altered their prescribed dosages to see what it would do to their nervous system. And then she would nurse them back to health and was said to have had a miraculous recovery. She's the one fucking doing it. So she knows what the hell's going on. However, she spent a lot of time alone with the patients, making up fake charts, medicating them to drift in and out of consciousness, and even getting into bed with them. Jane was recommended for a prestigious Massachusetts General Hospital.
For what purpose? Like, she was sexually getting in bed with them?
Yeah, because it was her sexual fetish.
That's icky.
Yeah.
That makes me think of Kill Bill, when Uma Thurman's character is in the coma, and they warn, like, the doctors would take money to let people have their way with her while she's in the coma, and they warn whoever's paying, be careful, she likes to spit. And there was one guy who worked at the hospital, and when she wakes up, she remembers him.
Okay.
And his tagline was, "My name is Buck, and I came here to fuck."
Oh my God.
And then she steals his keychain to escape, and it's called the Pussy Wagon.
Oh my God. I do remember that part. I don't remember the coma
My
part.
name is Buck, and I came to fuck.
Oh my God.
But when
people are fucking stupid. I don't get. I know it's a movie, but there are people out there like that
take advantage of their position to.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. So Jane was recommended for a prestigious award at the Massachusetts General Hospital in 1889, where she claimed several more victims before being fired. The following year, she returned to Cambridge briefly, but soon was dismissed for administering opiates recklessly. Jane began a career as a private nurse and flourished despite complaints of petty theft. She began a poisoning spree, and in 1895 by killing her landlord, Israel Dunham, and his wife in 1899. She killed her foster sister, Elizabeth, with a dose of, I don't know how to say this, strychnine. I can't make it bigger. Strychnine?
Strychnine? Yeah.
In 1901. She moved in with an elderly Alden Davis and his family in Canada to take care of him after the death of his wife, Maddie, whom Jane had murdered, and then weeks later, she killed Davis, his sister, Edna, and two of his daughters, Minnie and Genevieve. I like that name.
Genevieve.
Just fun to say, too. The surviving members of the Davis family ordered toxicology exams on which determined she had been poisoned.
I'm kind of surprised that they had toxicology reports back then.
Well, and so one of the articles said that the toxicology report was what got her busted because it showed up as, I didn't put this in there, but it showed up as aluminum or something like that. And that's how you know that they were poisoned.
Okay.
So, and I was like, oh, okay. They assigned a police officer to detail Jane and to watch her on October 29th, 1901. She was arrested for murder, and by 1902, she had confessed to 31 murders. After her trial, one of William Randolph Hearst's newspapers, the New York Journal, printed what was to be Jane's confession to her lawyer, claiming she had killed more than 31 people. She wanted the jury to find her sane so she could eventually have a chance to be released. So she thinks that if they find her sane and guilty, she might get life in prison with possibility of parole, is what she's thinking. And that's what I came to the conclusion, because why would she want to be found sane and possibly get released? The only way she'd get released is if she got the possibility of parole. But she also got the possibility of no parole. So she was kind of, what do you call it? Playing a game there, because, you know, she may not have gotten it. Yeah. She insisted upon her own sanity in court, claiming that she could not be insane if she knew what she was doing, and she knew what she was doing was wrong. But she was declared insane and committed on June 23rd, 1902.
So they still?
Yep. In the Barnstable County Courthouse. She was found not guilty by reason of insanity and committed to a life in the Taunton Insane Hospital, where she died on August 17th, 1938, at the age of 84.
So she had to spend her life in an insane asylum.
Yeah, which good.
Yeah. But you know what? I know to be legally insane is you have to not be aware that you're doing something wrong.
Right, and that's why she said she was very aware. That's why she's not insane. She knew what she was doing was wrong.
But I still feel, even if you know it's wrong, if you still have the urge to do what they're doing, there's still something fucked up in their head.
Oh, yeah.
They're not sane. They're insane to want to do what they're doing, even if they know they shouldn't be doing it. I agree. I agree. Like, you're fucked up because you know what you're doing and you still have the urge to do it. Yeah. Because you want to get out. And if you want to get out, what reason do you want to get out for? So you can do it again. Yeah.
Yeah. It was to say that her motives from an article in the Hoosier State Chronicles that she would fondle her victim as they died and attempted to see the inner workings of their souls through their eyes. She stated that she derived a sexual thrill from patients being near death, coming back to life, and then dying again. She administered a drug mixture to the patient she chose as her victims. She lay with them and then held them close as they died. Jane is often considered an angel of mercy, a type of serial killer who takes a caretaker role and attacks the vulnerable and dependent people. Even though she murdered for personal reasons, such as the case of the Davis family, it's possible that Jane was also motivated by jealousy. In the case of the murder of her foster sister, she was jealous of her foster sister because she had a mom and dad, her dad died, but she had a mom. Jane didn't have a mom or a dad. She later described her motivation as paralysis of thought in reason, a strong urge to poison. A paralysis of thought. So like she could not get past the thought of poisoning somebody. Mm-hmm. She was stuck. So
she had to do it.
She had to do it in order, not for murder, not for anything like that, but I get that feeling of it. Once I get the urge to do something, I need to do it or I don't feel right. I feel weird inside. I feel triggered. I feel anxious until I do the thing I need to do. It makes me feel really fucking weird and I'm stuck. I get that. So I'm not saying it's okay in her case, but I get that feeling. So if I say I need to go move something, I'm stuck thinking about it all fucking day. I'm in the morning, I'm I need to put out the trash can. All fucking day, I can't get it out of my head because if I didn't put it out that morning or the night before, I'm stuck thinking about it all fucking day, and it makes me I go straight home anyway, but I'd have to go straight home and put the trash out, and then I'll feel okay. It's just stupid stuff. Nothing serious, just stupid, unreasonable things that I need to do. I have the urge to do, and I can't do them, and it makes me feel weird and stuck, and I have this feeling until I do it.
Me,
you just don't. You're just
no, I just forget about it. I have a horrible fucking memory.
I can't do it.
Oh, I need to take out the trash. And then 2 seconds later, it's gone.
Yeah, I can't stop thinking about it. It's stuck in my head until I get it done.
But if I say something stupid or do something stupid, I'll remember that every second.
Why did I say that back in 1997 to that chick that I just met at the grocery store with her daughter? Like, what?
Yeah. Thanks for coming. Oh, you too. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
When you're leaving a restaurant or something.
Thanks for coming. Yep, you too.
You too. Yeah.
See you soon.
That stuff that keeps me awake at night.
Yeah. Like, what? What? That don't make no sense.
Just like, this still bugs me to this day.
Oh, God. Here we go.
In elementary school, I was a safety patroller. And I guess for some reason, after recess, I thought that it was the end of the day. And so I went to my locker. I got my little safety patroller, like
sash things.
Yeah, like it's a little belt thing. And I go and I'm by the exit door, and there's other classes that are still at recess playing, and I'm just standing there waiting for it to be released. And then I'm like, why isn't it releasing? And so this had to have been like 4th or 5th grade, because those are the only ones that are the safety patrollers. And so finally I go back to my classroom, and like we still had an hour or something of school left. And so I just have to go back to class after I've been gone for probably like 20 minutes, just standing there. And it still kills me to this day. Like, why did I do that?
Okay. Like, I have a same situation, not a same situation, but a situation that sticks in my head that I'm just like, why? Granted, it wasn't really my fault. It was my dad's fault. I was in elementary school, kindergarten, maybe 1st grade, 2nd grade. It had to be kindergarten because I don't think my sister was in school yet. And my dad's getting us ready for school, blah, blah, blah. And we see this bus outside, and he thought it was my bus. So he sends me outside, and I'm running. And I run up on there, and I'm like, and they're just looking at me, and it's fucking high schoolers.
Oh.
And I'm in kindergarten, and I run off the bus, and the bus lady's like, you have somebody at home? I'm like, yep. And I run back across the street, and I go home, and I'm like mortified because all these high schoolers just saw this kindergartner all excited to get on the bus. And I was like,
not bus.
Run back. Yeah. Like, why? Why did that happen to me? Why? And I still think about it to this day, even though it wasn't my fault. I still felt like an idiot, you know? Like, the fuck?
3rd or 4th grade, my family went to a water park during the summer, and I'm wearing a bikini, and I had a t-shirt over it because I've always been chunky, so I was always self-conscious, okay? So I had a t-shirt over my bathing suit, and we get to the top of the giant slide, and they're like, you can't wear a t-shirt. And so I start to take off my t-shirt, and my mom's like, oh, I'm going to help you. And my mom takes it, and she pulls it up, but she gets my swimming suit top up too. And so I flash the whole line, the teenage boy who's running the little slide, and I am just mortified for the rest of my life. Like, I wonder if this teenage kid remembers this, because I sure do.
Maybe you were the first boobs he ever saw.
It was so traumatic. And,
that's, yeah.
And I know he probably didn't think anything, because I was just a little kid, but still. These things, they stick with me.
Yes. So I understand her pain. I do. I get it. Yeah. Okay. She is poisoned for more than just murder. She poisoned the housekeeper, just her housekeeper, or Elizabeth's housekeeper, just enough so that she could appear drunk in order to steal her job and kill the family. So Elizabeth and Anne's housekeeper, she wanted their job. She wanted the job so she can kill them. Mm-hmm. And that's what she did. She even poisoned herself to evoke sympathy of the men who courted her. These are just a few of the identified victims. Israel Dunham, who died May 26, 1895 at the age of 83. Lovely Dunham died September 19th, 1897 at the age of 87.
Lovely?
Yep, Lovely. And these are patients. Uh-huh. If they're not a patient, I'll tell you who they are to her. Elizabeth Brigham, her foster sister, died on August 29th, 1899 at the age of 70. Mary McNair, died on December 29th, 1899 at the age of 70. Florence Calkins, the housekeeper for Elizabeth, died on January 15th, 1900 at the age of 45. William Ingraham died on January 27th, 1900 at the age of 70. Sarah or Myra, I guess she went by Myra, so Sarah or Myra Connors, she was a patient and a friend, died on February 11th, 1900 at the age of 48. Edna Bannister, which is her sister-in-law, or the sister-in-law of Elizabeth, died on June 19th, 1901 at the age of 77. Maddie Davis, the wife of Alden Davis, died on July 4th, 1901 at the age of 62. Genevieve Gordon, or Annie, daughter of Alden and Maddie Davis, died on July 30th, 1901. Alden Davis died on August 8th, 1901 at the age of 64, and Mary or Minnie Gibbs, daughter of Alden and Maddie, died on August 13th, 1901 at the age of 40. So yeah, those are my two people. They're fucked up, and good riddance to them.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy, crazy people.
Yep.
And poor
Adam Walsh.
Yeah, that.
Poor elderly people, because they can't help themselves either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, poor all victims, but that
Yes.
poor little 6-year-old. So
He didn't
innocent.
deserve that.
So
I mean,
innocent.
none of them deserve it, but.
Who kills a fucking child?
And then drive around with their head in their car.
Because you forgot about it. Like, yeah, I can see how important that is to you. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, if you liked this episode and want to hear more like it, you can go to our website, www.spine-chillingchatspodcast.com. There you'll find the links to the other episodes, links to our merch store where you can get some cool merch.
Mm-hmm.
Sport us around.
Yep. Buy our merch. It's pretty fucking cool. See our bios. Did you say that?
No.
See our pictures.
Yep.
See who we are, which you can see us here, but we look better in those pictures, I promise.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
YouTube, obviously.
YouTube. Yep. If you're just listening to this, we're on YouTube. You can watch us.
We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Anywhere you can get
podcasts.
We're on there. Yep. If you have any stories you want to share with us, either supernatural happenings that happen to you or glitches in the Matrix, if you fucked a fairy and want to tell us the dirty details, we'd love to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Any cryptid sightings, if you're friends with Bigfoot and you can hook us up.
Yeah, let us see, because we're interested.
Yeah.
But anything really, true crime, if you don't want to say it, write it to us. We'll say it. We'll cover it. We'll look up anything you guys have suggestions for. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
Yep.
Subscribe, like, share, all the good stuff.
But those stories, you can send them to our email, which is spinechillingchatspodcast@gmail.com. And there is no hyphen, or you can submit those at our website too.
Or Facebook.
Yep, anywhere.
Anywhere. And we'll be happy to take whatever suggestions you have.
Yes.
So,
That's
it. That's all.
All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this. We hope you come back. And most of all, we hope you keep it spooky. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Go away.